Welcome back, everyone. In the last video, I issued a challenge to you in order to figure out how to use this event we're getting back from our onChange handler inside of our input in order to filter out the list of monsters that we have stored inside of our state. Here, what we're going to do is do this together. So we know that event.target.value gives us the string that is typed into this search bar so far. So what we need to do is we need to filter down this list of monsters into a list of monsters that have names that match this event.target.value. So here what I'm going to say is I'm going to initialize some kind of variable called filtered monsters just so that we know exactly what it is that we're creating. And I'm going to say this.state.monsters.filter. And .filter is very similar to .map in the sense that it gives us back a new array. And what that array will contain is going to be a list of elements where it's run this callback on every element in that array. So here we know that monsters is an array of these different values that have a name on them. So let's just say, for example, we have Leanne and we also have Yihua, just as an example. So of course our array is bigger, but I'm just going to use these two for example. What's going to happen when you call .filter is that .filter is going to receive a callback that you give to it, and it's going to pass and call this callback on each element, the same way, left to right. And based on what the return of this callback is, whether it's true or false, so it's expecting a Boolean, it's expecting true or false. If it's true, then it will keep that element. If it's false, then it will take it out. So what will happen is once filter runs this callback on all of these different elements inside of the array that you're calling it on, it will give you back a new array. So here, let's say that with .filter, what we know is that the first argument, just like we saw before when we called .map, the first argument is going to be the element itself. And I'm just going to call it monster just for my own sanity. And here, we're going to say that monster.name, so give me the name. And what we want to do is we want to think about how we're going to actually check whether or not the text we have is included in this name. Luckily for us, with all strings, we have a .includes method. And I want to say that if it includes event.target.value, meaning that if the name includes the string, then what I want you to do is I want you to return true. So luckily for us, includes is a method that returns a Boolean as well. .include returns true if this string includes the string you pass to it, meaning that if the name includes the search string, then return true. If it doesn't, then return false. And what we're saying is that when you filter over these monsters, if this monster's name includes the search string, then keep it. If it doesn't include it, then get rid of it. And here, filter monsters will give us back a new array. And the reason we want a new array is because similarly with our previous example, when we were looking at React with those objects and our state objects, you remember with our object, if we modify the object, React can't actually register that it's a different object. Similarly, with arrays, it's the same. If you increase or decrease the number of elements inside of an array, meaning you add more or you remove to it, this is still the same array in memory. It behaves very similarly. Now, React doesn't really care about this as much because it's really just with the state object that it checks. But as a general best practice, you always want to use non-modifying methods, meaning that if you're going to modify an array, you want to generate a new one. Chances are you don't want to modify the same one. And this is a concept called immutability, and it's a general best practice. So most of the time, remember, if you're going to modify an array, create a new array with that modification. And there's a series of these different methods on arrays that are helpful. .map is one, .filter is one, and there's another one we're going to learn later called .reduce. So here we filtered out this monsters array. And now what we need to do is we actually need to set the monsters to this new filtered monsters. So here we can just say this.setState is equal, again, to this function, and we're going to return back an object where monsters is filtered monsters. And here, very explicitly, this is exactly what's happening. And if we save and we check back here, now if we type in LEA, we see that we're filtering out. Now you might be wondering, why is it that this first name monster of Leanne is not here? Sorry, let me refresh. You notice that as we typed in LEA, we expected the capital Leanne. Well, the reason for this is because includes is not case sensitive. In order for us to make this case sensitive, we actually need to lowercase all of the text that we're typing in. So here what we can do in order to actually make this handier for us is let's actually cast this into a variable. So let's say search string is equal to event.target.value.toLowercase. So toLowercase is a method on all strings that lowercases them all. So no matter where there is a capital, it will get lowercased. So if you have a string that's like A like this, when you run toLowercase on it, will give you back a string that's like this. So that's really handy for us when it comes to any kind of searchability. We just want to lowercase everything because most of the time, people don't search with the idea that it's case sensitive. So now that we have our search string, we want to do the same thing to .name. We want to lowercase the name. And then on that lowercase string, we want to check to see if it includes our new lowercase search string. And now if we save this, and we go back to our application, if I type LEA, we see that it works. So this is the beautiful thing now. Everything is working for us. But what you'll notice again is as you remove characters, why is it that this array of monsters is still what we had filtered? I want to give you a second to think about it. Really think about what's happening here. And in the next video, we'll cover it together and how to remove it. If you want to take the challenge, in fact, and you figured out why it is that even as we removed the different strings, we didn't get back the original list of monsters and you want to try and solve it yourself, please try and take a stab at it. Because that's the best way to learn, is to really try and figure it out yourself first. But once you've hit a point where you've ever figured it out or you want to see the answer, join me in the next video and we will implement this together.